analyze and not have access to a floodplain. We don't have access to a floodplain, it kind of creates eroding the stream banks and therefore causing a lot of sedimentation. Of course, hydrocarbons, oil greases, fats and stuff like that getting into our water supply, bacteria from the corresponding surface, heavy metals, and these yet unknown impairments are sort of interesting. Willis, at least in this study in the Cuyahoga, was referring to pharmaceuticals and personal care products. We've seen media talk about this a little bit and what's going into our water supply. Well, in the Tinkers Creek watershed, we have 7 discharging wastewater treatment plants in a 96 square mile drainage area. So that's a lot of byproduct going into the stream. Now, I will have a caveat and say that the science hasn't specifically said that these pharmaceuticals or personal care products are impacting the aquatic fish populations, but we're kind of getting maybe a little bit closer to going ahead and saying, yes, in fact, this is it. And these things are called endocrine disruptors. We'll have stuff like almost like musk scents for guys, pine sol scents, estrogen from birth control pills and things like that. And what's going on in the stream is that during the larval stage of of the fish population, if you're male, you're becoming female. And so as you can see, it's maybe about a 90-10% split that they're finding in Tinkers Creek. The habitat's there to support these fish populations, but we're finding that what's going on is that because of these, we're making the assumption at this point in time until the science leads us to specifically say this, that some of these are impacting the fish populations, ultimately. In terms of watershed stress, and this is, I think, a good graph that kind of shows what I'm talking about. As a population, we need water for different things. But at the same time, there's still only a certain amount of water available for us to use. And when the two meet each other, it puts a lot of stress on the watersheds. So you can see that there's a major significance or importance to watershed management in the long term, and there's a big public health aspect to this as well. So I thought that this was just a good sort of idea of what we're talking about in terms of stresses we're putting on the environment, specifically in watersheds. We couldn't have this discussion if we didn't at least talk about the growing population and how that's going to ultimately impact everything. If we have finite resources worldwide, and there's a growing population, there's more people obviously going to want to use those resources or need those resources. And that's kind of creating a real bad situation. I thought Dr. Hess really elaborated on this quite well, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but you get the point. So I wanted to show you some pictures about what we do to our water supply. Again, this is just a picture of your standard storm sewer on any ambiguous street anywhere. With a sediment-laden water running into it, again, going out to our streams. Oftentimes, if you're in the streams as much as I am, I guess I would like to be more than I am, but nonetheless, you can find garbage like this virtually anywhere. In fact, actually, I will admit, this is taken from Big Walnut Creek at Three Creeks Metro Parks here in the southern part of Franklin County a little while ago, or a couple of years ago. Again, same kind of thing. Oftentimes we just decide to discard garbage where perhaps it's not the most opportune place or the proper place. This is what happens when you have too much nutrients going into a body of water, major algae blooms. And if you're a little turtle living there, you're probably not too happy with what's going on. This picture is actually supposed to be this way. The trees aren't supposed to be this way. They're supposed to be standing straight up. This is a perfect example of what happens when too much water is put into a stream. Again, what happens is as the water erodes the stream banks, the trees fall over, and this just continues to exacerbate these issues where we're putting so much water in the streams, it's trying to find a way to go around, and clearly there's going to be some problems with that, as you can imagine. So major sedimentation going on here, and a lot of trees that are holding those stream banks in place are going away. Combined sewer overflow that both the doctors had kind of alluded to. This is an actual picture of it. Again, I took this here in Columbus. That's a little piece of toilet paper popping its head out down at the bottom right there. Obviously, that's a big issue in terms of bacterial problems for the residents obviously around this. This is just not in Columbus, obviously. This is a lot of older communities where we combined those years ago. Great idea where all the water would actually be treated at the plants, but never thought about what would happen when we started putting so much impervious surfaces out there. Well, this is what happens. Again, another issue in the streams, this is basically grease and oil, fat coming out with some maybe undigested salad perhaps. Kind of let you guys figure out what that is. But again, things that we find in our streams that shouldn't be there. This is a great picture of a poorly managed construction site. The water is actually flowing from right to left. I don't know if you can see that too well, but this is called a ditch check or a check dam, and that simply is supposed to allow the water to slow down and clarify as it continues down into the receiving body of water. But if we don't actually care enough to make sure that these management practices are properly placed and maintained, then these are the things that happen. It just goes right around the edge. Oil from our cars, if we don't maintain our cars enough, it goes straight into the storm sewer system. And then I want to also offer this, that this is microcystis. This is blue-green algae. This is the toxic kind that a lot of times we find in Lake Erie, which also really causes dead zones or hypoxia areas in the lake where it's devoid of oxygen as this decomposes. So as you can see, a lot of these things, if not, well, all of these things are making our water systems everywhere in the urban setting and in the rural setting becoming more and more of an issue in terms of public health, as you can see. So I only have a couple of minutes left, I guess. The watershed-based approach to decision making. Let's talk about that briefly. Basically what this is acknowledging the significance of personal and community-wide environmental impacts toward the integrity of watershed streams, rivers, lakes, wetlands, vernal pools, and aquatic life. So understanding that these environmental issues that we're talking about, these environmental resources are a gem, and that we need to kind of put them a little bit further up in terms of our decision-making processes. What do these include? Infrastructure, stormwater management, riparian canopies, the trees and stuff around the stream corridors, vacant property, brownfields, zoning and planning, and of course how we build and our architectures. Some of our CCBH, our Cuyahoga County Board of Health programs, traditional programs that we have currently, but as I'm hoping to get into just briefly, some new things that we're trying to get into that will kind of help form a little bit more of a comprehensive approach to what we're trying to do in terms of public health and to the environment for these emerging things. Sustainability, the concept of sustainability, the convergence of the 3 Ps, people, planet, and profit. So the mission of CCBH, our sustainability work group, is to increase the awareness of our social responsibilities to the development and implementation of sustainable practices and programs that reduce our environmental impacts, but also promote healthy living and provide support for the environmentally conscious development of our communities. So what are we going to do to be the leaders to help our communities understand that what they do at their local level in terms of sustainability is significant to themselves and to long-term health for their residents and, of course, the general public. Some of the things that we're getting into, stream restoration projects. Just another example, this is on Highland Hills at the golf course there, about maybe 2,000 linear feet of stream restoration. Stormwater program, we're the first program, or the first in our whole county to implement a comprehensive stormwater program where we actually record where all the outfalls are going out. We do sampling to find out what's going into the water supply. Obviously this is not good. The sewage going into our water supply, the gray water means just raw sewage basically going into our water supplies. This is a stormwater retrofit in which what we'll say is because of all the impervious surfaces out there and all the things and bacterial loading going into our streams, what can we do to remove that bacteria to give it some time so the water is much cleaner going back into our waters of the state. This is simply used to be a major retention pond, and what they're doing is creating these step pools as it goes down. And what it's going to do is create residence time. It's going to be heavily vegetated because it is now. That vegetation removes a lot of the nutrients. It gives a residence time so the ultraviolet radiation kills the bacteria and so forth and so on before it goes back into the water supply. So again, the stormwater retrofit. We do a lot of wetland preservation. This is just a simple picture of a wetland in a watershed that we're working with